Hello, everybody. Happy Monday. Sorta. Most of us are finding out that we are being ordered to stay at home. Here in Maryland, we got that emergency alert on the phones about 3 o'clock. Goes into effect at 8 o'clock tonight. So, and this time it's not just a request because the kids are off of school. This is everybody stay home that doesn't have to be there. You know, kind of like a snow emergency. If you don't have to go out, don't. And there are penalties involved with it this time. So they're not playing games where this virus and pandemic is concerned. But we're all in this together. So I wanted to talk just a little bit before I get into the reading about things that I am seeing and hearing and give you my take on it. Do with it what you want. And I advise you to always do that, not just take everything that I say verbatim. You know, do your own research, access your own intuitive gifts, and you know, and you don't have to believe what I'm telling you, right? I'm just giving you what I'm getting, that in my best possible ability to receive truth, I am giving that truth to you. And I am really a stickler for trying to make sure that what I am getting is truth and uncorrupted by other interference, ego or elsewise. So, having said that, I don't know how many of you have watched the David Wilcock series that he's been doing on this virus and everything that's been going on. It's like insanely 3 and 5 hour long things, right? But what he brought up yesterday is something that has been echoed in a lot of different places for a couple of years now. That when we finally get to the point where we're going to have the major push to take down the deep state operatives, the pedophiles, the crooks, the ones that have been operating with fraud, the financial crooks, the Satanists, the just any kind of criminal you can imagine, that have been operating and getting away with it, right? Two-tier justice system that we've all been screaming about for a long time. The deep state is, when they finally get to the point where it's time for the massive arrests and the massive exposure of what's really been going on and their responsibility for that and what they have been telling you, but what they have been actually doing, is going to take place during 3 days of darkness. Now, I do the finger quotes on that because what's going around now is that sometime between now and Easter, we're going to have that 3 days of darkness. Some people are saying 3 to 10 days of darkness. I don't see it being anywhere near that if it occurs. Will be no access to cell phones or internet, and that will include cable TV for 3 days. somewhere like that is what they're saying. So I've questioned my team about this, and I keep getting, I'm not getting any real strong answers. I think the full decision for the US has not been made yet. There we go. Confirmation on that. Yes. That decision for the US has not been made yet. I think that they would rather use the things that they have in place now, like everybody staying at home because of the virus, and then being able to do things without putting other people in harm's way and get it done. I think is the way that they would rather operate than go to this 3 days of darkness thing. I'm getting that it may happen, may actually be more likely to happen in some places in Europe. So I'm only saying this not because I believe it will or won't happen, but because I'm telling you what I'm receiving about this. And I feel that it would be irresponsible of me not to mention it at all. And I'm just saying that there's a possibility that this could actually happen, and for you to be prepared for that when it does. You know, stockpile your supplies of DVDs, peeps. You know, and your Xbox games and all of that kind of stuff, and your books, like real books, or download a whole bunch of books from the library or Kindle or something, so that you have plenty to read. You know, have things available to do. It won't affect the electrical grid. And from what I have been hearing around, and there's different things about that anybody that has a landline, the landline should be okay. And I'm kind of getting it. Yeah, I'm getting a yes on that. So if the decision gets made to do this shutdown, I want you to be prepared and to know what's going on when all of a sudden you can't get on the internet and you can't access your phone. You will be able to use 911 or 911 systems through that, and the emergency alert system will still work and come through on your phone. So that's what I have to say in that regard. So let's move on. So this last week has been a pretty tumultuous week all the way around. And we have spent, but for the most part, we have been, like, in this first 2 weeks, especially here in Maryland and a lot of other states where kids were taken out of school and everybody's at home with their kids, and getting used to doing homeschooling stuff and setting up routines and all. And we were told at the beginning that it was going to be 2 weeks. And I said to my daughter-in-law, I said, no, we're going to be at least 3 weeks, if not more. And she said, yeah, I think so too. But the 2 weeks was almost like kind of a spring break or vacation. It was kind of like, yeah, we can fly through that. But now we get the notice that we are, schools are out in Maryland until the 24th of April at least. And at this point, probably till the end of April. Pennsylvania schools are closed through until further notice. They're not even telling you when. And, and it goes on like that. So personally, I don't think that we're going to need that. That now that the hydrochloroquine has been approved, that people that are coming up with this thing are going to get immediately medicated with this cocktail of drugs and move on. So we shall see what happens, but I don't think it's going to be as dire as we are prepared for it to be. I'm getting a big confirmation on that too. So, but now we come into the reality of okay, it's been 2 weeks. We made it through weeks. We were good with that. And now it's the reality of this is going on for a while. We are going to have to find ways to cope with this for another month or more. So that reality is kind of settling in. So this week I decided to, instead of focusing on what was going on in the higher levels, what I wanted the angels to do was kind of give you some pointers and advice and things to help you at ground level, right? Your own personal experience, how to deal with this, how to move through it, you know, what to look for, what to understand about what's happening, and the best way for you personally and for all of us globally to move through and out the other end of this week. So like I said, this is the week where everybody just all of a sudden realizes that, oh my God, I'm going to have to deal with this for a lot longer than I thought I would. It's becoming real, right now for people looking at indefinite, how long are we going to be stuck in our houses? So, you know, especially people with kids, and the kids are even limited in a lot of ways in going outside. It's not like a vacation where you take day trips and you go out here and you can do that and you can do other fun stuff. No. So this is just hitting home. And so I wanted to do a reading about how to deal with it. So let's go on. I won't even go through, I don't want to make this any longer than it has to be. And I want to, so I'm not going to go through the full thing of last week. I will address last week's archetypes when we get to that point. But for the rest of it, since we're doing something a little bit different this week, let's just get to it. So the first question that I asked of my team is I asked them, what's the biggest thing we'll be facing in this week? So this is the card that comes up, Angel of Strength. And so, yeah, this week, we're going to be, because now this realness comes in, and where we could sort of, you know, there was a lot of panic being pushed by the media, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You know, government actions and all have fed into that, and all of the hoopla going around. And so we've been dealing with that fear, but we've kind of been pushing it away to a certain degree, as if, okay, that's all out there. It doesn't really apply to me. I'll sit at home for a couple of weeks, do what I need to do, and then things will go back to normal. Well, now they're not. And the reality is sinking in. And so we become more susceptible to becoming enmeshed in those fears. And I know that there are some people already who even last week were in just absolutely dire states of panic about this whole thing, because they've been listening to their TV news stations telling them all of these grave, horrible statistics. Well, statistics or no statistics, they've been giving you false images of what the heck's going on, and literally false images. Today, the story came up that CBS News was using stories of using photos of Italian hospital rooms and situations, and telling everybody that these were New York hospital rooms, and this was the dire situation going on in the hospitals. They freaking lied to everybody because they used a picture they knew wasn't a New York hospital. People are going around to the hospitals right now, and they're driving to the hospitals, they're walking up into the hospitals. The hospitals are ghost towns. There's hardly anybody in them. The testing lines for this virus, every hospital has like this testing facility outside of it. You wait in line to go get your test. Empty. But people are in an outright panic because they bought into this and they're afraid they're going to die. And oh my God, I'm going to be inside and this is the end of the world. And I'm not making fun of that. I appreciate fully their fear, and I appreciate the grief of those who have had loved ones pass from this or because of it in some way. This is the reality of what's going on in many people. And this week, for the rest of us who have been holding on and saying, hold my beer, I'm good, we're now saying, wait a minute, give me the beer back. I need a slug of that sucker. Let me get, and we're having to regroup. So what's happening here, the thing that's happening globally, is for us to be facing down those fears and accessing and digging into our own inner strength, finding parts of ourselves that we didn't necessarily know even existed, finding inner wells of strength and calm, centeredness, groundedness. So if you're having a trouble, let's do that now. I want to help you do that now. So if you have begun to say, oh my God, and let the fear start moving in and grabbing hold of you, let's go now and let's just close your eyes and sit with me for a moment as I ask your guardian team to help you find your center, where your soul is, and where your divine connection is. And Kayla, the angel of peace, to help you. It's just in your mind or out loud, you can say, I choose peace. And let Kayla help you find that. Take a deep breath in and blow out all of the anxiety and open to peace and grounding from divine source on that spindle of light all the way down to Gaia's heart. Just let yourself sit in that space. That's your center. That's where the calm is. That's where the truth is. That's where peace is, and your soul exists, and your true guidance and higher self are connected to you. So sit with that. And anytime you start feeling yourself heading off center, I would ask you now, and your angels are prepared to do this, just in your mind even or out loud, just say, peace, please, and allow it to come back in. Breathe it in and breathe out the anxiety and the fear. And know that you can do this. You've got this, okay? We've all got this. There are many, many people across the planet who have had to deal with far worse than this in their existence. And some of those are the people that we're going to rescue through this. So get centered, be calm, and call in peace. Just say, peace, please. Or I choose peace. Breathe in the peace and breathe out the negative, scratchy, anxious energy. And you know what? If you've got kids that are like at their wits' end, you can also say, I choose peace for my kids or for my family, because maybe your spouse is kind of going off the deep end too. Just, I choose peace for my family. And let the angels come in and drop that into everybody. Oh, how nice that was. Okay. So So that's the first thing. That's the biggest thing that we're going to have to be dealing with this week that's coming through, is digging into those reserves of inner strength, keeping centered, and not letting ourselves be taken off that center. Another way to look at it is those of you who are a bit older may remember a toy that was called a Weeble. It was shaped like an egg, and you know the song for it, the jingle for it was Weebles wobble, but they don't fall down. And truly, I mean, you could knock these things over and they would just go so far and they would come springing back up again because they had a low center of gravity. So they were fully grounded. And so you went to knock them over, but that low center of gravity just pulled them right back up again. And so you can think of yourself as a Weeble, right? You're going to find your Weeblehood this week. Angels are laughing at me for saying that. You're going to become a Weeble this week. You are going to learn how to, you know, just go so far and then just say, boom, I'm back. All right. I'm not telling you to ignore the stuff, the fears and the emotional stuff that comes your way. That's still part of this package and part of the releases that we have to have. But to let it move through. Don't let it come in here and get stuck. Or in here and get stuck. All right? We want it to move through. Experience it, evaluate it, let it go. All right? Weebles wobble, but they don't fall down. So you're going to come right back up to be centered in that pole and choose peace. So that's one. All right, so the next question I asked was, what is the biggest event we're going to be dealing with this week on a personal level globally? Oh, my hot tea feels so good going down. All right, so the answer that I got, the angels gave me. Oh, and by the way, the deck that I'm using this week, it's a fairly new one for me. This is called, it's Sandra Ann Taylor's Energy Oracle cards. I know a lot of you also have these and you like them a lot. So the card that came up for this question, right? What is the biggest event we'll be dealing with this week on a personal level? All right, so the card that comes up here is the door to romance. Well, that's not what it means in that particular literal sense. It is meaning and talking about a heart opening. The door to our hearts opening, getting rid of a lot of heart walls, opening to the plight of other people, making sure that we're taking care of our neighbors, compassion. The great breaking is what I call this, the great breaking that opens our hearts to others, regardless of what our political beliefs are, our religious beliefs are, anything else, regardless of any other differences we have going on. We are going to be opening our hearts, seeing the plights of others, making sure our neighbors are taken care of, getting things done, doing things to the ability that we can with this shut-in, to help others out in whatever way we can, keeping in touch, and just opening up to what everybody is going through, and having that heart opening and having that, and this is the great breaking here, is a prerequisite to the great awakening. This has to happen first. The heart has to come open. We have to see and feel compassion for others that we might not agree with, but we begin to see them as fellow human beings. where we were refusing to do that before. We didn't want to see that because that would have stood in the way of our stance, right? Of us saying, you're right, or I'm right, you're wrong. Stance that we have been taking, the divisiveness in this country and around the world, not just US, everywhere. So the heart breaking open, this great breaking has to happen, because once this breaking occurs, we can't go back, because it feels good to help other people. It's part of who we are. It recognizes us as all one basket of humanity, basket of glorious, wonderful, divine humanity. That we're all part of the same thing and the same experience, even though we choose to experience it and perceive it in different ways. But that's the glory of us being here. Once we open those doors and we start that connection, the feeling of doing that for other people, for most people. Now, this is not going to be everybody. I'm going to tell you, there are going to be some real stinkers that are going to remain hard-hearted and aren't going to care. They're going to be so stuck in the service to self that anything they do for others is all about them. Look at me, you know, I did something for you, even though you're a jerk. I did something for you. That's kind of some of the thing that you may see still hanging on there. But for the most part, it is going to be this great breaking open of our heart chakras. You know, the love light and our light love and love light coming out, shining from us, connecting one to the other. So once that connection is made, as I've said, there's no going back from that. That is the great breaking of the division and separation that has just, boy, held on and refused anything else, any other efforts to dissolve it and loosen it. This will do that. That's what we're facing this week, is that's coming, kaboom, people helping people, connecting, feeling bad for people, wanting, you know, praying for people and praying for situations, praying for, you know, praying for the earth, you know, whatever. It's this heart opening, which takes us out of ourselves and connects us with other people. So that's what this message is about. This is the biggest thing that's going to be happening this week on a personal level and on a global level personally, right? We're going to be dealing with this. And it doesn't mean it's all going to be wonderful. There's going to be some emotional releases going on too. Just this last week, I'm honest to God, I had three client appointments where the bawling was big time, you know, because there were big releases coming up. I love making people cry because that means that they're letting go of stuff. Get out, let it go. Absolutely. Come to me. You want to cry? Come to me. I can help you cry. All right. So that's that question. So then the next couple of cards, what I wanted to know was, on a personal level, what should we be prepared for and prepared to experience, right? Personally. So, and of course, the first card that they brought to me is no news for any of us, journey. It's basically, we're really not, this is not saying we're going someplace. It's like, no, we're not going anywhere. No journey for you. Stay home. You're locked in for a while. Travel is restricted. Nobody's going anywhere. So that is one of the things that we need to be prepared for. If you haven't heard it yet, you will soon. I'll guarantee you, unless you live out in the boonies of Oshkosh somewhere, or Montana, you're probably going to hear this. All right. So be prepared and know that this is coming. And so what was the other thing that we needed to be, when there was another one here, what else do we need to be prepared to experience, right? In this coming week, because this coming week is the week that sets the tone for the rest of April and however long that's going to be. And so the card that comes up here is strategy, coming up with a game plan. You have, if you're by yourself, coming up with a plan for being by yourself. What are you going to do? Set up a new routine for yourself. It's easy to just flop on the couch like a potato and think that you're going to watch TV reruns and do oh, what the heck is it they call when you watch all the shows in a series at the same time, that might last and make you feel like you'd be good with that for a couple of days, but that gets old really soon. And so then you're going to be looking for something else to do. So you've got to come up with some kind of a plan, a strategy to move through the coming weeks, not just this week, the coming weeks. How are you going to deal with that? How are you going to deal with it by yourself? How are you going to deal with it in a family frame? Are you working from home and still dealing with kids? Is your husband home, or is he lucky enough to be out working? How does that, how are you dealing with all of that? And of course, then you have groceries that you have to figure out how you're going to get if they're even in the store. So you have to go and have that plan and know how you're going to tackle this on a long-term scale with an indeterminate end, right? You've got to make the plan to be able to get the kids their homeschool stuff and get them educated and have them working. If you're working from home, time to be able to do that and work that into the same time frame effectively. And whatever else is part of the needs of the moment, to make time and space for all of those needs of the family. And of course, one of those needs is free time, right? Everybody needs free time, but all of you are going to be kind of in family situations. You're going to be stuck in a house with each other pretty much, which is something that most Americans and most people in Western countries and even Asian countries, any place where you're going out and working for a living, you're not used to being home with the family and having everybody together continuously for weeks, right? I'm serious. I'm kind of making fun, but I'm not making fun because I'm glad it's not me. I'm going to tell you. And I feel so for my daughter-in-law and my son with their two boys, and she's working from home and one's 5 and one's 10, and she's trying to manage their, work from home. It's, schoolwork. My son's still working. My youngest son is working too, thank you, so far. I don't know if that changes with today's order, but put together a plan, peeps. That's an important thing for you to be working on this week. Put together a plan. Now, so the next question is I wanted to know what's the best way for us to cope with moving through this time? How do we cope in the best way? What do we need to do? What's the best way here? All right. So the card that comes up is the angel Ariel and the sacral chakra. And what comes up here with this one is accessing your creative abilities, because the sacral chakra is the home, is your creative center, right? It's the home of your sexual organs, the home of your creative center, all of that. If you like to cook, maybe that's where you're going to have this creative outlet because you have energy you want to use. You want to create something. Is it artwork? Is it projects around the house that you want to do? Is it crafty stuff? Is it reading that you want to do, or writing on something, that you might want to do? Is it graphics on the computer? Is it, is it a blog that you want to get involved in? Something creative that uses those creative energies to create, and that creates a positive atmosphere, because we all feel better when we're creating something. If you like to cook and you're in the kitchen cooking, you very seldom feel rotten when you're in the kitchen cooking. You're not fighting the cooking. You're enjoying the cooking. You're using your imagination, and you're trying, maybe, we'll try a little different spice here, or maybe not as much of that. Maybe it's not as much onion, and maybe we'll throw in a little bit more celery, or, whatever it is. And, maybe we'll try a little zucchini in it this time. Or maybe instead of cooking stuff, maybe you're canning things. Maybe you're making soups to put away, or maybe you're getting adventurous and getting into sourdough and bread starters and things like that. So find some creative outlets that you can use to help lighten the energy and put you in a more positive phase of being, to put a positive spin on everything, because you have time now to do those things where you didn't before. You like to knit and haven't for a long time? Well, buy some yarn and a couple of knitting needles, or use ones that you've had sitting around for a long time. Start a project. Maybe you have a bazillion pictures sitting around that you never had time to put in a photo album. Bingo. Sit down with that, or a scrapbook. There are so many possibilities that you can get involved in, and you can still, even if you may not be able to go to Michael's or Amazon or Walmart or whatever, you can still order stuff online and have it delivered to you. So engage yourself in the creative possibilities that abound now that you're home and have time to engage with. You're not traveling back and forth to work anymore. You have that extra time to be creative and do things you wouldn't normally do because you don't have time for them, but you would have liked to do. So engage your second chakra. Do that. All right, so the last question that I asked, because somebody asked me, and I thought it was a good question. We're all seeing this all take place, and all of us want to help in some way. And what is our role in this? What can we do to help the big picture of things that is going on? What is our role? What are we meant to do for, and it isn't necessarily the same for everybody, but in general, what is our role in this? What can we do? Okay, so what comes up is goddess of the moon. And anytime we see the moon, there's two things that come up with that. One is intuition, right? Our third eye, seeing above. And the second is cycles. Things go in cycles. So I would say first is to let go of the fear and know that this thing will cycle out, okay? This is just part of a cycle. It came in and it's going to cycle out. And don't get to the place where you think it's going to be here forever. Let go, like I said, let go of the fear, detach from the things that are feeding fear. Don't pay attention to fear porn, wherever it is, Twitter, even though it has a lot of places where you can get good information, is still filled with fear porn and people yelling at you, that this is going to happen, that's going to happen. Facebook can be just as bad. Just center, choose peace, right? So that's the one thing, is to recognize that it's a cycle and to chill out, right? This too will pass. The second thing that we can do then is to access our higher knowing, and to see things from a higher perspective, which, is part of this knowing that this too shall pass, is to get to a place where we are disconnected from all the noise of the fear porn and everything else, where we can rise up to a higher perch, so to speak, and get a better perspective on what's really going on. And if there's anything that we have to do about it, or is it just enough that we have this perspective that we can see, and from that perspective, we know that we're good, things are going to be okay, or whatever else it is that you see coming from your perspective. If someone in your family would, God forbid, happen to get sick, then your role in that part is to pray and to trust, trust that whatever is happening to serve the highest good. But also at this point, if someone gets sick, I would hope that you would have them ask for this cocktail of drugs that has been shown to be 99% effective in healing this in hours. The lung problems go away. Doctors have been reported like from 4 to 6 hours after they started taking this drug, the lung problems were erased, were gone. So that's how amazing this is. So keep that in mind. Make sure that you're keeping the outcome, the goal in mind, knowing this too shall pass. We're going to get out the other side of this. No matter how long it lasts, it's still temporary. It's not permanent. Okay. So that's that for the regular card reading. So now we go to the archetypes for this week. And I just want to review last week's archetypes quickly. And if you remember, we had we had the eternal child, which was somebody who didn't want to grow up and accept responsibility, wanted to be taken care of. Big Daddy to take care of things. Like government to take care of things. We have that eternal child coming in. All right. And so then we had the bully, which was actually in its light attribute, which was allowing us to see when there were people, things, and organizations that were trying to bully us, and how our fears were bullying us. Remember that? The fear is a bully. Send the bullies away. And we're going to keep doing that. All right. This is going to keep operating. We need to keep seeing this and knowing that this is just fear is being used also by the bullies to try and control us. So keep that in mind. Keep the fear at bay and say, I see what you're doing. No, we're not buying into this. And do some of your own research. When they try and give you fear-mongering stuff, do some research to find out if it's actually true, or are they just bullying you to get their way, right? So, and then again, last week, the teacher in the negative aspect came up, and that was talking about the media and the information that we get, the places that we learn things from, right? Manipulating us. And haven't we seen plenty of that this week? Looking at Trump's conferences on the virus, looking at different things that the media has been trying to manipulate us in a number of different ways. And every time they do this, they have been caught. We have seen them outright lie. When somebody at the coronavirus daily briefing, and these people are working their asses off, people, every single day, 7 days a week, They are working and they're in front of us, giving us an update. And then some reporter will take a half sentence or a partial paragraph and slant it as if it was horrendous in horrible ways, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Fear porn on it. When anybody who watched it knows that that was false. They're outright lying to us, and they don't really care at this point if we know, but we know, and that makes a big difference, and they should care because they're gonna care soon enough. Enough with last week. Okay, we've seen that coming in, so let's keep watch on that. So this week, when I want to do the archetype cards, there was only one came up. I'm like, okay, but this is the card, the magical child. And the reason there's only one card coming up is because this is the main archetype that is coming into play this week in both aspects. In the positive aspect, right, the light attribute of this is, you know, seeing the beauty in all things, loving all that is, knowing that this too shall pass, moving through it, knowing that it's serving a higher purpose and God's light and will, and being good with that, seeing it as answered prayers, actually, right? There's a part, that's that light attribute of the magical child is seeing things through that prism. Now, the shadow attribute, however, is all of the people who are going to fall into pessimism and depression, and, you know, they just can't believe that anything's going to come to save them, that it's all falling apart. The world is going into economic ruin. The globalists are going to come and cart us away. Whatever. They're going to be in the really, you know, they have lost faith in miracles and magic, and they have a hard time believing in miracles, right? They don't believe, or they do. They have a belief set that they don't necessarily have to do anything to create change and make things better. They don't have to take any kind of action, right? They have kind of a belief set as if they wish it, it will come true. And let's clear here, a wish is not an intention to manifest. A wish is not a prayer. A wish is something that you send up there and you don't take any responsibility for in any way. I wish I had $1 million. I wish somebody would do something about this. I wish God would fix this. There's no personal responsibility in that. You hear what I'm saying? Instead of saying, Heavenly Father, I pray unto you now, and I pray for all humanity's sake, that the highest and best resolution and for the highest good of all, fulfilling the highest levels of light and love, are the glorious, holy, and divine outcome that comes from this whole situation. Right? You're putting yourself behind that. You are accepting responsibility for asking for this. When a wish is not really a request, it's just saying, I wish, right? And that's what the shadow attribute, that's the people who are engaging in this shadow attribute behavior kind of have going on. And there's an old saying, and it's called, if, and you probably may have heard this, probably may have. Yeah, that's good. I'm covering all my bases there. But if wishes were horses, then beggars would ride. And what that means, if wishes had any real teeth, if wishes really provided you with anything, then everybody would have everything that they wanted. Beggars are all about wishes. They're all about non-action in their lives. Now, I can't say all about. There are people who have gotten to that point in their lives, beggars and homelessness, through situations where they were actually trying not to be there. But once you get to that point, there has to be some more concerted action to get yourself out of that place. You just don't know what it is. And a lot of times you resist and refuse the options that are available. So either way, if wishes were horses, right, then beggars would ride. So that means all of those people who are not accepting responsibility for themselves and their situation are just trying to wish things better instead of connecting with their inner self, praying, going out and doing what they can do in order to help the situation, to help each other, with the prayer and the intention and the knowing that things are getting better. The shadow attribute of the magical child doesn't believe things are going to get better, doesn't believe in the miraculous power of light God, right? They believe in fairy godmothers that grant wishes and genies that they rub jars for. Sorry, those are fairy tales for a reason. So these are the two opposing archetypes that are going to be operating this week. And if you look around, you'll see it. You'll see people wanting to step back in depression and, oh, woe is me. You know, a lot of the victimhood going on, and, you know, the blame game, right? That's also part of this. And then you will see the other people, and I would hope that I'm one of those, right? That it's like, it's all good. I'm not going to say it's comfortable, but it's all good. In the end, it's all good. So just chill out, jump in that canoe, throw out the oars, and go where you're guided to go, and cope with what's in the boat. That's what we have to do this week. And that's the message. And I hope that you have gotten some peace, some calm, some centeredness, and a better sense of how to weather the storm at ground level. That's it for this week. I will see you next week. It will be April already. How about that? Oh my goodness, April 5th. Wow. Blessings to you all. Be well. What is it Spock says? Live long and prosper. Love you both and all. Thank you.